Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, techier.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 90s.
On this episode, Hackers from 1995.
I'm Anders, and I need a handle. You don't have an identity until you've got a handle.
I'm Emma, and I don't even know how to work the VCR, let alone computers.
Be honest. Have you ever actually used a VCR? Let's get real for it. Let's get raw.
It's the videotape playing thing, isn't it? It's the thing you play a videotape on.
Yeah.
That's what a VCR is. Yeah, I've used one of those.
Big old rectangles with words on them and pictures. You take the small rectangle and you put it in the bigger rectangle and then you watch your favorite cartoon?
Yeah, and you can you have two slots, and one of them you can play a movie in, and the other one you can record the TV or something. Like, you can record the channel if there's a movie on the telly, you can record the movie.
Yeah.
Is that right?
We used to do that an awful lot. We used to make incredible mixtapes. I think we had a tape that was 3 episodes of The Muppet Show, then Romancing the Stone, and then a cool off with Robin Hood the Fox version at the end.
Robin Hood, brackets, the Fox version, close brackets.
Yeah, the beautiful fox. Was that just me?
No, that's absolutely just you. No one on the internet agrees with you. I had DVDs came into my life in my kind of late childhood, so I do remember VCRs. The big family TV had a DVD player, but then we also had the separate secondary TV which had the VHS player.
I feel like there's gonna be a time when life is cyclical. Everybody knows that, right? Culture is cyclical. Things are cool, then they're not cool, then they disappear, and then they're cool again because younger people go, this is cool, right? My point is, VCRs, they're back, but eventually they're going to go away again, and I think they'll go so far away that future generations will go, we don't know what these things are at all, and I'm sad about that.
Well, I think the problem with videotapes is that they degrade, so I don't know, I think we are too immersed in permanence now. Because the fact that they rot and stuff.
Don't we all though, Emma? Don't we all degrade and fade?
Well, maybe it's a good thing. Yeah, currently right now as we're recording this episode, my brother is at my parents' house translating all of our childhood videotapes into digital copies.
Yes.
Because we had we had the big
camcorder. Right on your shoulder.
We used to make my dad used to make scripted dramas featuring me and my brother, and so we've got loads of very good classic movies that are need to be saved and translated into digital mediums.
That makes so much sense now. I think I understand why you're so into film and scripted fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
A lot of classics.
Hey, speaking of classics, we watched a real classic this week, didn't we? Did you like that segue? Was it smooth?
It was very smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah, very
Thanks.
good. Well done.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. What did? We watched. The 1995 classic, Hackers.
Hack
it.
Should I recap this film?
I'd love it if you would. I'd love your young person's perspective on a film from the 90s about computers.
Did you fully get it and what was happening and stuff?
Did I fully get it in the 90s when I watched it, or did I fully get it when I watched it this week? Because the answer is no.
To both.
No. I know. I didn't. I knew in the 90s it was about computers, and I think I vaguely understood the plot of it this time around, but it was a bit convoluted.
This is essentially a movie that is very much, I think it's very relevant and important to understand the time and the context in order to view it for what it is. Yeah. Because technology is something that moves so quickly that a lot of the stuff that they're talking about is, far less relevant and far less impressive, I suppose, than it is now. And that's always an interesting thing about films that feature technology. The story is it centers around a guy who essentially is a hacker, and he's a sort of prodigal hacker. His name is Dade. And when he was a kid, 11 years old, he did this really big, really impressive hack that got loads of media attention, and he got in loads and loads of trouble for it. And they basically said to him, you can't go on a computer again until you're 18. So we then catch up with Dade again when he's in high school. He falls in with a group of hackers, one of whom is Kate, who he kind of like has all this romantic chemistry with, and she kind of becomes the reward for him successfully hacking at the end of the film. There's a kind of a big evil plot that they happen across. One of the hackers, I think it was Jerry, but I might be wrong, tries to prove his ability by hacking into a company and downloading a file. The file that he picks is called garbage, so he assumes it's nothing. However, it turns out to not be nothing. It is in fact a virus that has been put there by the guy that the company is paying to look after their security. So he's sort of like, playing them because he's their security guy. However, he's also actually stealing from them.
I just figured out what the movie is about. Seriously, no, I didn't realize where that file came from. I think I missed that. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Okay. All right. Now thank you. Now I understand about this movie. Good. I'll shut up now, but I know.
These
now
recaps are useful.
Thank you so much. It's there for me.
So he's the bad guy. He also then has a counterpart who is a guy who's working in, I guess, like the CIA, whatever it is. He's called Agent Gill. He knows about these hackers and is trying to track them down, but doesn't have enough technical know-how to really understand what's going on. So he's relying on this other hacker guy, and his name is the Plague, to, track these people down. And the Plague is manipulating that because he's feeding them the wrong information and misdirecting them. He comes up with this other bug, which they call the Da Vinci bug, which is a Trojan horse virus, which he has also made up, but he's open about that one. And he says, this gang of hackers has put this here and we need to stop them. So he's basically saying, there's this big problem that you guys need to sort out. I'll help you out, when in fact, he's actually the problem himself. Dade is an easy target for this because he was the hacker Zero Cool when he was a kid. He is essentially an easy target because he's got this criminal record for the hacker, the Plague, to sort of take the blame for this virus.
Right.
And essentially the movie is this plot unraveling, and then the group of young teenage hackers trying to fight against this and clear their name. And it kind of escalates into, we this virus is downloading and this virus is downloading, and it's these people are hacking these people, and eventually it all kind of works out in the end. Stylistically, it's very cyberpunky. It's got it's like acid house. It's very cool costumes going on. There's a lot of really clear influences in there that I thought, things like Blade Runner and all the kind of cyberpunk classics and I think the other interesting thing about it is that the actual presentation of technology is not like super advanced. There's one bit where Angelina Jolie is commenting on a computer and they go, "Oh, what a great computer." And she goes, "Yeah, I want to triple the RAM." And I was like, wow. Like, whoa. Okay.
Did you hear when they talked about the 28.8 modem?
Yeah.
Like, wow.
So in terms of the actual technological ability, they don't really bother with that very much. Like, there's some words in there which are quite techy, but the cool thing that I really liked about this was the way that they visualized the technology, because technology hacking is very difficult to visualize because it doesn't look very interesting. It's just a person sat at a computer typing a bunch of numbers and letters, but they use all these really cool visual depictions of what they're doing, which I really liked and reminded me of a lot of films I like, including one of my favorite films, Tron and Tron Legacy. Don't know if you've ever seen those. Yeah. So that was very cool.
Yeah.
And it's just like a kind of fairly generic story, but with quite a nice dressing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, exactly. Cheap cut, good marinade, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Have you ever seen this movie before watching it for the podcast?
I haven't seen it before, but I didn't know about it.
All right. That's something. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
When we drag some obscure film from the mid-90s out,
very much my sort of thing. So yeah, did sort of know about it. How about you?
Yeah, no, I've seen it a couple times. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I have definitely seen this film a few times. This is the movie, and I didn't realize until watching it for the podcast, this is the movie. When I think of Matthew Lillard, I think of the image of him with the long hair and the John Lennon glasses, and I hadn't really clocked it until watching it this week. I was like, oh yeah, right, this is where I remember you from. And I but no, I hadn't really thought about it since probably 2002 or something. What did you think? Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah,
I thought it was
good.
I thought this would be right up your street.
Definitely. You've got cyberpunk, video games, computers, like acid house, Angelina Jolie, cool costumes and stuff.
New York City in the 90s, right? You know?
Yeah. I do think it's quite it's a very familiar story.
Sure.
You know, it's like they even reference it a few times. He says like we're the samurai, we're the cowboys, and it's like, yeah, you know, they're pirates. It's a pirate story.
Yeah.
They're pirates, they're outlaws, they're cowboys, they're the samurai. It's all the same thing. It's like we're the outlaws doing some kind of slightly dodgy thing, towing the line between good and evil, and computers are just the set dressing of that. And then I think the other thing with computers that is interesting, and again thinking of the context at the time, very very powerful in 1995, is this idea of like computers and magic. You know, it's almost supernatural. It's like, oh, I can press some buttons on my computer and then all the sprinklers turn on or all the lights go off or whatever. It's kind of, it's like magic. It's like, oh yeah, I can cast a spell and do this. And you're kind of manipulating the fact that a lot of people don't have enough of an understanding of how technology works to go, I don't know what they can do with their computer things. They could probably do all sorts of terrifying things, which can be slightly fear-mongering, which is a whole other thing that we won't go into. But you can suspend your disbelief. You can put aside your sort of like reasonable approach to this sort of thing, which is like, his computer's probably not fast enough to hack into that system at the speed that he's doing because it doesn't have a good enough processor. I'm just going to forget about that. However, you know.
Yeah, but no, you're right though. But like in 1995, people didn't really know. Computers were still super expensive and not everybody had one. Incidentally, that was the year that my family got what I remember being our first computer. It may have been 1996. Because I remember installing Windows 95 onto that bad boy. I'll tell you that for free.
Nice.
But up until that point, you know, people didn't know. People didn't know about computers. So that's why I think both it was believable probably a little bit, and at the time anyway, and also why they had to visualize what hacking looks like, you know, with the audio aid of Penn Jillette in the background talking about, you know, what types of viruses were hitting them at what point. It was the 90s. People didn't know about computers. Did you have a computer at that time? Did your family have a computer at that time? Yeah,
we pretty much always had computers because I have a
nerd dad,
and I have a nerd brother. My dad is pretty nerdy, but it's my both of my brothers are very very strong nerds, and my oldest brother actually used to write for a computer magazine back in the day. So
really?
So that's why we always had computers, and I definitely remember having like the big Windows. We always had Windows computers. Right. I've always thought they were very cool. I've always really liked computers.
Have you ever tried to be have you ever hacked a thing? Are you a hacker?
all right, Mr. FBI. Are you?
Am I? I barely know how to use my phone. Come on.
I think for me, there's a few things, which is that like, well, the elephant in the room is that there is a gender bias against women, and generally you are not directed towards computers as a interest, hobby, career path, all sorts of things like that, right? So I think I was definitely at a disadvantage there. But I'm someone who generally tends to prefer like creative pursuits and visual pursuits, and computers, while they are very interesting to me and I do like technology a lot, usually my use for technology is how can I use it to make something, right. Rather than, you know, investigating it in its own right, I think. But I'm generally someone who is quite a quick learner, so I can pick up technology quite quickly. but I'm not someone who has like a super techy kind of fascination in the way that a lot of people do have, which I think is very interesting. And it's still very relevant, you know, in the like these people who sit in their bedrooms and have this like power at a very young age to break into systems and do stuff like it's real. And I think it is, you know, it's very scary for a lot of people. How about you? What's your relationship with technology?
Let me tell you my history with hacking. Well, I got 2 stories to tell you. The first is when I was in high school. When I was a freshman in high school, they genuinely taught us a class. It was a mandatory class, and the class was called Email and the Internet. Okay. right. That's where I learned all my hacking.
Electronic mail.
For the people who don't know what that is. It's electronic mail. And so I learned all my computer hacking skills at that point when I learned what Internet Explorer was. And I was 16 years old. And I was learning what email is, right? But I've caught up. I know all sorts of stuff. I have a TikTok account. So we did that. And then also one time when I was in high school, some kids that I'm not sure who it was, but they know who they are, hacked into the scoreboard on the football field. And it changed the scores to 0 and it said a dirty word for like a second.
Brilliant.
Which is pretty cool. That is all of it. I don't even really know how you would, if you said to me, and it was the 90s, you need to hack into this company. I literally don't know what would you do? Do you go to the internet and write www.hack? Is it an app? Is it a software? Is it a piece of software? How do you hack something?
It's very interesting, the perception that movies have created of hacking and how that actually varies from the truth.
I really don't know. How do you do it?
Because it's like, here's a good example of this, right? There's a bit in, I think it is in Blade Runner, but if it appears in loads of different films, which is when they look at a picture on a computer and they go enhance and they zoom in. So they're looking at a face and they go enhance on the face and they zoom in and then suddenly you can see who the person is. And it's like, that's not a thing, not because of technology, but just because of how cameras work. If the photo that you've taken is a certain quality, you can't just create more quality. That's just, you know, but like that's a thing that you see in films all the time, because technology will do what writers need it to do, essentially. And the fact that people don't know enough about it is very useful to writers, because you can say, yeah, that's a thing. Sure, why not?
Sure.
Fine.
Maybe it makes for good writing and good watching.
So, like, you would expect that hacking would look like The Matrix, and that's because the falling green letters in The Matrix look very visually, aesthetically pleasing, but that's not actually what it really looks like. And you also you often see people looking at images or shapes or colours. And you see that a lot in this film, and you even see it in things like Iron Man. You know, there's a bit where they're creating Vision, and he's like this big sort of circle. It's like, no, that's not what it looks like. No. It's just that's there for the movie. So in terms of actual hacking, one thing I can definitely say about it is it doesn't look how it looks like in movies. But what I also say, what's interesting in this film, the primary thing that they discuss with hacking in this film is actually based almost entirely around passwords. Yeah. And then they kind of skim over the rest of it and they don't really talk about it. And there's this line where the guy says, you know, the most common passwords are like love, sex, secret, and God. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's password 1, 2, 3. Yeah. That doesn't sound quite as cool, but and so the fact that he, you know, enters like God is how he gets in, because he guesses the right password. And whilst that is quite silly, and also like, I don't think, you know, it's got to be 8 characters with a capital letter and a number.
Right. Too weak. That's a weak password.
2 weeks, a weak password. Yeah. The fact that the easiest way to hack and the most common way to hack is to actually access someone's password, I think is pretty correct, really. Like, that's how it happens. And with stuff like celebrity, you know, photo hacks and stuff, generally what's happened is they've found their password. So PSA to our listeners, the best thing that you can do to protect your own data is to protect your password.
That's a good point. I didn't really thought about it. And you're right. Yeah, the whole like, ooh, celebrity leaked, whatever. It's because they've been hacked with your password.
Mm-hmm. Because their password was I Heart Rover or whatever.
Right.
Like,
I love
their birthday.
The birthday and the year.
It's my full name.
Yeah. There is one thing that I do know about. I knew one thing about hacking before watching this movie, and I realized when I was watching it again for the podcast that it was referenced in the movie, which is the whole concept of. Do you know about the concept of phone freaking? Have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is like this thing where through the years, basically, people have figured out that instead of paying for a phone call, like a long distance phone call, if you play the right frequency into the phone, then it tricks the computer into thinking that you put money in it, and then you get free phone calls.
Yeah.
And they did it in the movie a couple times. That was why they were hooked up to pay phones when they were doing all their hacking, because they were using the payphones and they were playing. There was that scene when they first went to that cyberpunk weirdo rollerblade cafe, where the one hacker like plays a tape recorder into the phone and they're like, $5 credit, thank you. Oh no, thank you. Do you know anything about the history of phone freaking?
A little bit, but please enlighten me.
Well, so this is a story that I heard when I was like young. Like I remember hearing about this and thinking. I remember being told two stories. The first was that if you cut out a piece of newspaper the exact same shape as a dollar bill and try to put it into a vending machine, sometimes you can buy candy with that, right?
Yeah.
I tried it. That didn't work. And then the second was that if you play a whistle into a payphone, then you can make free phone calls, right?
Ooh.
And now that is based on a real thing. So apparently, long distance phone calls in the 1960s and 70s, the phone, when you put the right amount of money in to make the phone call, it would play a certain frequency like a radio frequency at a certain number of hertz. I looked it up, 2,600 hertz. And once it hears that sound, then the phone company knows that you've paid money and it allows you to make a long distance phone call. But famously, and this is where the whistle story came in, there was this guy in the 70s called John Draper. Not Don Draper. I know what you're thinking. But so John Draper figured out one morning whilst eating a bowl of Captain Crunch and playing with the whistle toy that came in the box, that if you played that whistle, it played at exactly 2,600 hertz. And so if you played it over the phone, you get free long distance phone calls. And this started a whole movement of phone freaking where people would just call people all over the world just because they could. And they would pick up the phone and call people in like Japan or in, Afghanistan or London or whatever, just to talk to people around the world because they had this phone freaking device, which was in fact a kid's whistle. It later developed into a piece of technology, which they called a blue box, which was just a little toy box with some numbers on it that would emit certain frequencies. And here's the really interesting thing that I just learned today about it, which is apparently this guy, John Draper, everybody really wanted to meet him. And one person who really wanted to meet him was Steve Wozniak from Apple Computers. Well, what was going to be Apple Computers. So Steve and his friend, Steve Jobs, go over to John Draper's house. And he teaches them about phone freaking. And before they made computers, they made blue boxes and sold them to people on college campuses. And that's what formed Apple Computers. Fact. Phone freaking.
Wow.
The future is calling.
It's funny when it's like you have the combination of real world stuff and technology stuff, I suppose. And there's almost like this weird crossover point in history where, with payphones, where it's like you have to put a coin in. And then I think for some people it's difficult to understand why, well, I've got to put a coin in it, so how can it be that it doesn't work if I don't do that?
Right.
But the reality is like, well, it's just sending a specific command to a thing, and the command is you've entered this, and you can duplicate that. And yeah, it's crazy.
For a long time, the command literally was the sound of the coin dropping that would tell the phone company you can do this. And I think phone freaking and I guess hacking, at least from what I understand in this movie, is like It's just people trying to explore and see what's possible, right? That kid who broke in and stole the garbage file didn't do that because he wanted to steal a file that was actually a thing that would end up getting them in a whole lot of trouble. He just wanted to like just mess around and sneak around and see if they could do stuff. It's very like, it's a combination of budding technology meets curiosity and boredom, you know?
Sure. And also the world and systems of the world, like the law system, not being up to date with technology, which is still a problem.
Right.
Things that are designed to protect people and make rules about stuff. Right. It's like, well, I can just do that, so I'm going to do it, and I don't really see how it's wrong. Like, it's just a kid can just break into this company because he can. I love it. I think films about technology are always at their most interesting when what they're really about is morality or humanity. Yeah. And this film is kind of a silly film, so it's not really doing that. But there are a lot of amazing films which do explore humanity in a really interesting way. Such as, well, another one from the 90s, which I guess is the most famous example of technology
War
exploring
games?
Morality.
No. Terminator?
The Matrix.
The Matrix?
Because The Matrix, I suppose most people, but the other two that you listed as well, The Matrix is I studied it in my philosophy class because it is a philosophy
Whoa.
pondering, right?
You studied The Matrix in a philosophy class.
Yeah.
How come I didn't get to watch cool movies in philosophy?
This is why you do philosophy, man, because you just watch a bunch of films, because that's where all philosophy is nowadays. It's not in philosophers anymore, it's in movies.
Did you watch The Big Lebowski?
We watched so much cool stuff. It was great. And that one, again, it's visualizing a technological experience. Another film, well, less so the film, more the original story, which I really like, is one called Ghost in the Shell, which is a really interesting kind of story about people, AI, humanity, what it means to be human. Blade Runner also does it. There's another film called Alita, which I would really recommend. Both Alita and Ghost in the Shell are based on manga as well. But there's a whole kind of slew of stories which are trying to find ways to convert a technological experience into a thing that we can see and we can feel. And as I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite ones is Tron Legacy. It also has an entire soundtrack by Daft Punk, so
yeah, it was very good.
There are some other references in this film which I think is just worth mentioning.
Sure.
One of the ones I thought was so cool is, have you ever heard of the film Metropolis?
Yeah. Is that one of those olden day movies?
Super olden day
like
movie.
The early times.
It's a kind of a very important movie, both in terms of cinema, but also sci-fi.
Right.
Absolutely fantastic movie, which I very much recommend. They had a Metropolis poster on the wall, which I noticed.
Cool.
The other thing is that there's a character called Emmanuel Goldstein, or he mentions Emmanuel Goldstein, which is, do you know what that's a reference to?
No.
So it's George Orwell's 1984, which is, again, a very famous dystopian novel.
Big Brother. He's out there. He can see what you're doing, and he is not happy. He's not happy.
I think everyone should read if they can at some point. It's very interesting. The other one is they often talk about Gibson and the Gibson program. You know that.
That's a reference to that guy.
The guy, yeah, William Gibson, who wrote a book called Neuromancer, which is an amazing cyberpunk novel and one of the key cyberpunk novels, which amongst other things invented the term cyberspace.
Yeah, I read that. That's cool. I mean, that's where it came from.
Yeah, and that is in a long tradition of real life technology things coming from fiction and sci-fi specifically. It's like cool. 2001 Space Odyssey as well is another example of that. There are things which are in real life came from some sci-fi author coming up with it. Also, 2001, there's a little reference which I just read on IMDb trivia, which says that Penn off of Penn and Teller, his character is called Hal in the credits, which is probably a reference to
the robot.
2001. Yeah. And the other one I found was that they mentioned Babbage at the end of the film, who was an inventor of the early form of the computer. So there's loads of cool little things in there, little tidbits and references to computing, which is fun. The other film I wanted to talk about, which is a really interesting one that I think you should probably never watch, because I don't think you will like it, but I think you will find it far too much for you. Okay. It's a 2018 film called Assassination Nation.
I like how it rhymes.
It is good. Yeah, it's good rhyming title.
Assassination Nation.
It's a black comedy, thriller, horror. It's very gory.
Ugh.
And it basically is the film that does social media fear to the absolute max.
Right.
It's a film in which people get doxxed and get their information released and their photos released, and then it turns into just total Armageddon. But yeah, if you like horror, I'd recommend that one, because it's like I was like, whew, if I was ever close to just completely erasing all of my social media and technological, data, it was after watching that film, because it was very scary. But I think you've got to be careful with stuff like that, though, because there is so much benefit that comes from technology, and we can't forget that.
It's like the pros and cons. Yeah, so big data knows, if I just look at one button-up, workman jacket on an Instagram ad, it's everywhere, right? That's a downside. Yes, I understand you might steal my data and use it against me in some ways, probably trying to sell me things. But on the upside, I don't have to look at books or ask someone if I need to know, how many cups is in a kilo or whatever, or to make sure that I wake up on time, etc. Technology is a good thing. Hey, you know what they say? The best survival tool if you get stranded in the woods, right?
A spigot.
It's so that you can have a good shower. I'm confused.
You can get fresh water.
From where?
From trees and stuff.
Just from trees and stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the 3 things you should bring on if you ever get stranded in the woods. Number 1, knife, probably. Number 2, a spigot, so you can get fresh water from the trees. Mm-hmm. And then number 3 is you just bring your phone, and then you use your phone to get out of the woods. Yeah. Either by maps or just calling someone and saying, I'm in the woods. Where are you?
Please
I'll send you my location.
Uber.
Can you please pick me up? I'm so stranded in these woods. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Okay. Call of the Wild. That's where they got the name for that book. Because he's stuck in the woods and he just makes a phone call.
Yeah. We've done that thing again where I haven't really talked about the film very much.
What are you talking about? We talked about it. Hackers, and they use the phone, and then the plot is okay, but it's not that good. Yeah. What else you want to say?
Angelina Jolie is great.
Angelina Jolie. She looked really cool in this movie too.
So cool.
Right?
So cool.
She has cool, really short haircut, and everyone was dressed cyberpunk for sure. Everybody was dressed really cool. Even the main hacker guy, who was supposed to be not cool but actually was cool, who also was he played Sick Boy from Trainspotting.
Sherlock.
Yeah.
There's Sherlock Holmes and what's that TV show called with Sherlock Holmes in it?
Sherlock?
Elementary.
Didn't watch it. I prefer Sherlock. Or
it's Americans do Sherlock Holmes.
The original one,
But then it's weird because Johnny Lee Miller is British.
Yeah. And he was not very convincing as an American, I'll be honest with you.
Did you think?
I could 100% tell you're not from New York or Wisconsin or anything. You, my friend, are from Kingston. Fact. I Googled him. But I think we talked about the movie enough. It's fine. Nobody... Oh, you know what's going to happen? The hacker police are going to say you didn't talk about the movie enough? Well, you can't find me because I'm using a cloaking device for the internet. It's called VPN.
Oh, thanks. Technology. Is it good for us? Bad for us? Who knows? Only time will tell. However, one thing it has brought us is some great content over on Plot Twisters Pod on social media. Check it out.
So.
Snap. Now you can't talk. It's going to make for a bad podcast. You can talk again.
Oh, thank you. That was an excruciating 3 seconds.
How do we twist this movie? How do we hack this into pieces and then stitch it back together as a whole new thing?
Hack my life into pieces. This is a movie. 1990s internet. Get your modem. How do we hack this movie? I don't know. Let's do something fun, right? Let's do something cyberpunky fun, you know?
All right. Here's what we're going to do. Let's play a game.
All right.
Pick a point in the movie.
Any point?
Yeah.
All right. The point that the kid gets arrested when he's 12.
Cool. Wow. Okay.
I didn't see that coming.
He gets arrested when he's 12. He's being dragged up by the police, and suddenly a beam of light comes down from the ceiling. Aliens.
All right, I get it. Here's what I like about bringing aliens into this movie, and I'm really, really glad that you brought it. Because we know about technology on Earth, and we know about hackers a bit on the planet Earth. But what if also aliens?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
All right. So they pick him up. They pick up this young boy. Right. Fine. That's fine. And the aliens are, what kind of aliens are they? What do they look like? What do they feel like? What's their vibe?
Have you seen Signs?
No, but I've seen other M. Night Shyamalan movies. Does that help?
Such as She's All That.
Oh my God. I forgot he wrote that movie, and now I remembered it.
Allegedly. Allegedly right. All right. Okay. Ooh. What about E.T.?
Yeah, okay.
Type aliens?
Yeah. They are E.T. type. In fact, for legal reasons, they're not E.T. exactly.
TE.
They're TEs. And you look at them, you go, isn't that E.T.? And then there's a thing at the bottom of the movie. When you ask yourself that question, it says in text.
E.T. is brown.
E.T.
This one's pink.
Pink. And it's not E.T., okay? These are pink, terrestrial, extra. They're very extra, right?
They're really camp.
E.T. phone. Home. Home. We're going home. Okay.
All right. So the aliens, we are like, oh heck, aliens. What are they going to do? They're going to abduct us. They're going to probe us. They're going to, they're out to get us. Yeah. And they're like, no. We just want a great time.
Yeah.
We're having a party.
Yes.
On our spaceship. And they come across our planet, this planet Earth, and they go, oh my God, amazing. Look at all the culture.
Yeah.
Look at all the fun people. Look at all the parties they're having. It's the 90s. Everyone's having a great time. Amazing. Let's get some of these flesh people.
To come that's what they call them.
Teach us their ways of the party. And so, what it is, sorry, I do have an important thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
What it is, they're in orbit in the Milky Way.
Right. Which is like, our solar system. Like, right? Isn't that, we're in it? I forget. Isn't that part of where we are? We're in the Milky Way. Right?
Yes.
You keep talking, but I'm going to Google whether or not we're in the Milky Way.
I'm telling you it is.
I know, I believe you.
But you're still, I can hear you Googling. Why don't you trust me? Why would I have said it if it was wrong?
All the stars we see at the night sky are in the Milky Way, including ours. Continue. Sorry.
This is meant for you. You see, I say a thing about science and you assume I'm wrong.
I thought you were messing with me. That's why I had to Google it.
Anyway. They're in the Milky Way.
We're cool. We have trust. I just wanted to double check. I want to double check just to be safe, you know?
No, that's fine. Pluto is a planet, by the way, as well, also.
I will always remember it as a planet.
So they're circling around and they are like, oh, what do we do? How do we establish contact with these cool people that are having these cyberpunk parties?
Right.
This guy, Zero Cool. He's doing his hacking, and whilst he's undertaking this scheme to whatever it was, steal money, sink tankers or something.
Or stop tankers from sinking.
Yeah.
One or the other. He puts in a piece of code into his computer, and nice.
is what emits the signal. Like, and it's saying in alien language, in human language, it's saying sink the tankers or don't sink them or whatever. Yeah. But in alien language, it's saying party, 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 party.
What are the odds?
Yeah. Party rockers in the house tonight. That's what the signal is.
Every day I'm shuffling.
Yeah, it's LMFAO.
Is Red Foo in this movie?
No, he's busy with his nephew, or I can't remember which one is the uncle and which one's the nephew. Still the best factive ever, by the way. So anyway, that's what's coming out, and the aliens are like, oh my gosh, let's go find this signal.
Yeah.
There's a person. They don't know he's a kid. They don't know he's not an adult because they don't know what people look like. No. And they go, cool, let's get him on board. They turn on the thing, the teleporter or whatever.
Yep.
Johnny Lee Miller's on the ship. Over to you.
So they pick this kid. He gets sucked out of the courtroom right before the verdict. He's not allowed to look at screens. Great news, because he's on a spaceship and he's going to be looking at a lot of screens. And they party like it's 1999, and it's not. It's 1988 probably. They have a really good time. They've also picked up, just for complexity and also to make the party really fun, they've picked up like 11 other different random humans from around the world. And I like...
Other hackers?
I think they're all hackers.
Yeah, they're all doing the same thing, which is sending out alien code.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe what happens is the party, which is really awesome and really like decadent and a little bit over the top. To be honest, even the pink, not ETs are like, did we do too? Is this too much? Is this too much, right? We
should have stopped at the glitter cannons.
Yeah, and that's fine, but also they have like 30-foot tall punch fountains, alien punch.
Wow.
And the glitter gets all mixed together and it's just a bit much.
Is alien punch good?
It's good, but it also gets you pretty messed up.
Right.
Real
it's
fast.
Potent.
It's real potent, even for like Gleep Glop and the other, punch.
Terry.
He drinks too much.
Gleep Glop and Terry.
Gleep Glop and Terry. These guys. And it's like, guys, look, it's cool to have fun. We all have fun. Even I do, right? But not every day, and not to this level. You have a ship to run.
Gotta have lows to appreciate the highs.
Yeah, and we're worried about you. So is Xantor. Yeah. And the entire crew of the SS Gleep Glorpian. Here's what happens. They get messed up, right?
Yeah.
And the party, because they're so drunk on that pink punch, they accidentally travel to the other side of the galaxy, and when they wake up, they don't know how to get home, perhaps?
Oh, and then...
Yeah.
Zero Cool has to learn how to do alien hacking to hack the ship to find out where they came from and the coordinates and get them back
and it's
to the
easy,
right galaxy.
It's easy for him for the most part because he's so good.
And it's like those movies where it's like Booksmart, where it's like a party tour of various different parties and they're trying to get to the right party.
Yeah,
it's like that. So they keep going to different planets and it's like, oh, is this the one? Oh no, but there's a really cool party happening here. And it turns out, we're like. Oh, the whole thing about, the concept that we are both alone and not alone in the universe is equally as terrifying. And it's like, yeah, aliens are real. And they're all tearing it up.
They're all tearing it up. It's a bit like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? But like if Hitchhiker's Guide mixes with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, mixed with... Do you ever see that movie, Get Him to the Greek?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the aliens are a bit like that. They're a bit messed up, party animal, Russell Brand type. And the hackers, who are children, right? But they're the responsible ones, are like, can we please just go we need to get you back to Earth, please, because I'm 12. And they're like, we'll totally get back. I guess we probably go this way or whatever. And then they end up in another party city, and it's ridiculous.
This is actually really, this is a good movie. I mean, is it a movie or is it an episode of Rick and Morty? That's my question to you.
It's neither of those things. It's one of those things. It's either a comic book, right? Or it's a television show, right? Or it's an old-fashioned, radio serial, right?
Is it a sculpture? I feel like it could be a sculpture.
But it's like several rooms where each room tells a story through sculpture.
Oh, so it's a live theater experience. Is that what it is?
There are people who are dressed in, those cat suits from Cats, right?
Yeah.
Where people look like cats.
That's why they're called cat suits, actually, because they're from the musical.
That's another thing that came from a thing. That's why they call them cat suits. But in this movie, they are cats, actually, but they're alien cats, and they are the guides, but also, and they tell you, like, go to the next room where you'll see the next chapter, meow. But they're also the ushers, and they also work at the, like, corn dog stand in the vestibule.
And it's also kind of like a murder mystery thing.
It is a murder mystery.
Who hacked
Puss in Boots, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing that everyone will leave this experience, because it's both dinner theater and a
VR.
At VR, everyone's in VR. But here's what's fun about the VR. They're wearing the goggles,
and you're not.
and you see what they don't see. And
you see the reality that they don't see.
No, they think they're living in Shangri-La, and what they actually are is at an empty warehouse downtown, right?
And they're trapped.
And when everyone's eating and you're like, so delicious. Everyone, what is this? They're living a lie because everybody's eating garbage. But only you can see it. And you can't say anything or you lose 20 points and you get kicked out.
And part of the reason why they think that they are eating amazing food is because they're trying to pretend and impress the people around them and act like they have sophisticated palates when they actually don't.
Yeah,
and the whole thing is a commentary on, and I'm glad that we're finally getting to the bottom.
No,
of this,
we're in there. We've unwrapped.
Is false pretenses and how you shouldn't try to impress people.
Right. And then it's actually a reality show where they expose you at the end and they take the goggles off and you're eating garbage and you're like, what do you have to say about yourself? I thought it tasted good. Did you really? Or were you trying to impress the money bags over here?
But then the people who were making the reality TV show find out that actually it was a science experiment /
all along. Yeah.
Also reality TV show about them. Like, hey, we told you to make this sick experiment where you were making these people believe that they were eating garbage, and you just went along with it, you crazy, twisted, son of a gun.
Yeah, no, I know. And
this is the real reality.
This is the real reality TV show. And then they pull back the curtains, and guess what? Everyone has been abducted by aliens, and you are on an alien ship.
And the aliens are all sitting in the audience watching, and they're applauding, and they're thinking, wow, that was great. What a great show. Here,
just to recap, it starts out and you think this is a film about aliens who are like a pink and slightly sort of more fun version of E.T. who come to Earth to abduct a child who's on trial for hacking some computer because they think, and I quote, he seems like a fun, cultured person. He comes up to the spaceship and there's a dozen other similar kids. They then go on a booze cruise, drunken rampage around space whilst the kids are trying to get them home. But then they realize that actually it's not a movie. It's a sculpture garden, room by room, that teaches you a story with guide cats who then reveal that they're all wearing virtual reality helmets and you're not, and you need to not expose the fact that they are actually eating garbage and not food. And then it's a reality show to talk about, the complexities of hierarchy of society. But then at the end, it's revealed that they actually are, and you are too, on a spaceship. You've been abducted by aliens. But then the climax is, it was all a dream?
Yeah. In your head that we installed via a chip.
Because we're hackers.
Hashtag hacked. It's interesting. I was so involved in this project, and I like to think I've committed a lot of time and energy to it.
I agree.
Over the years.
Yeah.
And I think, it's been a real success. It's been a real it's been a personal growth journey.
It's a passion project.
It's a passion project. Hearing you say it all back, here's my concern.
Yeah, we're going to make too much money? Your wallet isn't big enough for the money.
I
That's
think
your
it will
concern.
be. I think it will be commercially successful. Like that, no doubt about that.
No doubt.
My concern is, I'm wondering if it makes any sense.
What do you mean?
You know, I'm concerned that it's just a bunch of complete garbage.
I hear you, and it's a really good note. And you know that we're really open to notes at this production house. What would be... I want to make you happy about our production. All right? So what's the one thing that you want to change? And I'm open to one thing changing, maybe.
What if the aliens were actually orange? You're not willing to compromise on that?
I have standards, okay? I'm a filmmaker, okay?
Not
a
fine,
note taker.
Fine.
I would settle for... Would you consider light pink?
I'll have to go and consult with my agent. I'll get back to you in 6 to 8 working weeks.
I'll give you that time, and I'll tell you why. Because these decisions are what will or will not give us the Oscar, okay? And I will be damned if we are not nominated.
I'm not losing again.
Right? Not again, okay? Why don't you go away and think about it? In the meantime, maybe you and I could rate this movie.
Sure.
Emma, I would like to know on a scale of 1 to 5, bowls of cereal. How many bowls of cereal would you rate the 1995 classic, Hackers?
I'm going to give it a 4. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Had lots of things that were up my street. And Angelina Jolie. How about you?
I'm going to give it 4, and I'll tell you why. I enjoyed it. There are lots of things that were up my street. And Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
This movie was cool, man. It's such a weird, cool movie from the past that, you know, if people are listening to this and have not seen this movie, what are you doing with your life? Seriously.
Get off your phone and get on this movie. God, kids today.
Stop watching, you know, WandaVision and start watching something good. WandaVision was fine. It was fine. You know, he was dead, right? Oh, but I brought you back to life because I love you.
Well, I haven't seen it, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, but you know Spoiler alert, 6 months called and they said, what have you been doing? It's locked down. Did you know, side note, by the way, the whole like statute of limitations on spoiler alerts during the COVID times, as far as I'm aware, has been reduced to 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah,
wow.
If you haven't seen it yet, what have you been doing? Learning how to make sourdough? 2020 called and they said they want their dumb thing back, right? Too real for you? Well, you know what? I'm real now. You know why? Because I'm a hacker now. I can do whatever I want.
More like a hack.
I'm going to go restart my modem real quick, and then I'm going to log into the website store, and they're going to give me all of your Bitcoin and passwords. Listen, one day I'm going to learn how to be a hacker, all right? And I'm going to be a big deal, have a cool handle, and everyone's going to be scared of me, and I'm going to make so much money on the internet. In the meantime, I'm just going to try to do my best to learn how to use the basic functions on my computer. What does that sound like? Is that all right?
Sounds good. There's this great website, google.com. I think you're going to really like it.
I'm typing it into my search engine right now. www.google.com. Well, I'll Google that later. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have the time.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That's the sound of a computer turning off. Womp, 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 womp.